It was a cold, rainy evening in a small town somewhere in the Midwest. The streets were slick, lights reflecting off puddles like little scattered stars. Most people were hurrying home, eager to escape the drizzle and the chill. But there, under a flickering street lamp, stood an elderly man struggling to carry a stack of heavy boxes. His coat was thin, soaked through, and his hands shook with the weight. No one stopped. No one offered a hand. Most people simply walked past, lost in their own worlds. Then came David. A regular guy, not particularly wealthy or famous, just someone who believed in doing the right thing. He was walking home from his evening shift at the diner when he noticed the man struggling. Without a second thought, David jogged over. "Hey, let me help you with those," he said. The old man looked up, surprised, maybe even suspicious, as if he had forgotten people could be kind for no reason. David didn't ask questions. He simply took some of the boxes and carried them to the man's modest house just a few blocks away. Before we dive further into this story, make sure to subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, like this video, and leave a comment below sharing a time someone's kindness touched your heart. Your interaction helps us share more inspiring stories just like this one. David didn't think much about it afterward. He went home, tired but satisfied, feeling a quiet warmth inside that only comes from helping someone. It wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't on social media. There were no cameras, no likes, no applause. Just a man helping another man in need. But as simple as it seemed, that small act of kindness was about to ripple far beyond what David could ever imagine. A few weeks later, David's life hit a rough patch. His old car broke down, and the repairs were expensive. His hours at the diner were cut short, and rent was due. Stress piled up like storm clouds on a summer evening. One morning, as he walked to the diner hoping to pick up a few extra shifts, he noticed a flyer on the lamppost, a community charity raffle with small prizes and a grand prize of $5,000. He smiled weakly. Why not, he thought. It wasn't much, but maybe some luck was finally on his side. He bought a ticket and tucked it into his wallet. That night, exhausted, he forgot all about it. Then came Saturday, the day of the raffle. David wandered into the small town hall out of curiosity. People laughed and chatted, holding their tickets tightly. The announcer called the numbers one by one. And then, in a moment that made David's stomach lurch, they called his number. $5,000. He couldn't believe it. It was more money than he had ever had at once. Tears stung his eyes as he realized this windfall could fix his car, pay his rent, and maybe even let him breathe for the first time in weeks. But as he left the hall, the thought that lingered most wasn't about the money. It was about the old man he had helped weeks ago. Somehow, David felt this was more than just luck. A few days later, David decided to make a trip to the local grocery store. As he pushed his cart down the aisle, he noticed a familiar figure, the elderly man, struggling again, trying to reach a can on the top shelf. Without hesitation, David walked over and lifted it down for him. The old man chuckled, his eyes twinkling. "I guess you're my guardian angel," he said. David shrugged, smiling. "I just do what I can." The old man nodded and leaned in. "You know," he said softly, "sometimes kindness comes back to you in ways you can't even imagine." David laughed politely, thinking it was just a saying. Little did he know, the old man had quietly been keeping track of David's struggles. A few days later, David received a letter in the mail. Inside was a check for $10,000 and a note that read, "For the man who helped me when no one else would. Use this to keep doing good in the world." David sat on his couch, stunned. He reread the note, trying to make sense of it. How could someone possibly repay him like this? He hadn't helped the old man to gain money or recognition. He had helped simply because it felt right. And yet, here was proof that the universe has a way of rewarding those who give without expecting anything in return. With this unexpected blessing, David didn't just pay his bills. He used part of the money to fix his car, settle his rent, and even put a little aside for emergencies. But the rest? He poured it into acts of kindness. He bought groceries for struggling families anonymously, paid for meals at the diner for people who looked down on their luck, and even donated to local shelters. Each act was small, yet they added up, creating a ripple effect throughout the town. One evening, a few months later, the town hosted a community event in the local park. Children ran laughing, parents chatted, and neighbors shared stories. David walked through, feeling a deep sense of contentment. Then he spotted the elderly man, now sitting comfortably on a bench, smiling at him. The old man raised a hand and waved. "See? I told you," he whispered. "Kindness always finds its way back." David smiled, realizing he had learned a profound lesson. Kindness wasn't a transaction. It wasn't about what you could get in return. It was about the warmth it planted in your heart and the invisible threads it created between people. That warmth, that connection, often comes back in the most unexpected and beautiful ways. Over time, David became a quiet figure of goodwill in his community. People began to notice his generosity, but he never sought attention or praise. His joy came from the small smiles he could inspire, the relief he could bring, and the hope he could offer. And as his story spread, others began to follow in his footsteps. A single act of kindness had sparked a wave, proving that even small gestures have immense power. It wasn't always easy. There were days when David felt exhausted or discouraged, when it seemed the world was too busy or too distracted to care. But every time he hesitated, he remembered that rainy evening when he helped the old man, and the way the universe had returned that goodness in ways he never expected. It was a reminder that kindness isn't wasted. Every smile, every helping hand, every word of encouragement has the potential to change lives. One chilly winter evening, David walked past the same street lamp where it all began. The old man wasn't there anymore, but David didn't feel lonely. He felt connected to his community, to the countless lives touched by small gestures, and to the universe in a way that was both comforting and inspiring. He knew that kindness was a gift meant to be shared freely, without expectation, and that in giving it, he received something far greater than money or recognition, purpose. And as the town lights twinkled on that quiet night, David smiled, knowing that he had discovered a truth that everyone can hold in their hearts. When you help others, not for reward but because it's right, life has a way of rewarding you in ways you can't imagine. Karma isn't always instant, and it isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's a lottery win, sometimes it's a new friendship, sometimes it's the simple gratitude in someone's eyes. But it always comes back to those who give with a pure heart. So, if you're watching this story today and wondering if your small acts of kindness matter, let David's story be a reminder, they do. Every time you hold the door for someone, lend a hand, offer a smile, or give a little without expecting anything in return, you're planting seeds. And one day, maybe in ways you can't predict, those seeds will bloom. Kindness doesn't just change lives, it transforms them. It creates connections that money can't buy, happiness that can't be measured, and memories that last long after the moment has passed. And often, the reward isn't something you see immediately. It's the quiet knowledge that you've made a difference, and sometimes, just sometimes, the universe surprises you in ways that remind you that good things happen to those who do good. So today, let's choose to be kind. Not for likes, not for applause, not for recognition. But because the world needs it, because people need it, and because your heart deserves it. Start with something small. Hold the door. Offer a smile. Help someone carry their burden. You'll never know whose life you might change or how the universe might change yours in return. David's story is proof that when we give freely, without expectation, life has a beautiful way of giving back. And maybe, just maybe, your act of kindness could be the spark that inspires someone else to do the same. And together, all those small sparks can light up the world. So go out there, be kind, and remember, the universe is listening. The world is watching. And kindness always comes back in ways more wonderful than we can imagine.